For those who aren't familiar with this channel, I've been talking about Cardano for a while now and I'm a long-term investor in ADA. In fact, along with VeChain, ADA is my biggest holding in my crypto portfolio, and in this video I'm going to be sharing my analysis on why I'm betting big on Cardano. I purchased the bulk of my ADA around a year ago through an investment partnership, and that $10,000 initial investment is now worth in excess of $200,000. And I'm not going to lie, I have been tempted at times to quit the crypto rollercoaster and take those gains. I mean, $200,000 is a lot of money by any standard, and although I'd have to pay taxes on the gain if I were to sell, there's a lot that I could do with that money. I could buy another rental unit or invest the capital into the stock market, but I've chosen for the most part to hold on. And the reason as to why I've made that decision relies upon one core premise, and that is my belief that Cardano is going to be the crypto project to take down Ethereum, in terms of displacing Ethereum as a #1 blockchain-based project, which acts as a platform for the development of decentralized applications. In this respect, Cardano and Ethereum are fairly similar, and the main value propositions of each project have a significant amount of overlap. On the one hand, Ethereum have the brand credibility advantage, and this really shouldn't be underestimated. Apart from our fairly small community of Cardano investors and users, very few people know about Cardano and what Cardano are capable of doing, and therefore Ethereum to the average person who knows nothing about crypto may seem like the more credible option because of its size and the fact that it's been around for longer. But then Cardano, at least in my view, have the technological advantage and are positioned far more favorably than Ether for further growth. Not only do Cardano operate on a proof-of-stake system which Ethereum are only moving over to at the moment, but in ADA the potential for increases in value are in my opinion far greater than in Ether. Think of it like this, right now the cumulative market capitalization of all of the Ether on the market is around $200 billion, while the cumulative value of all of the ADA is about $25 billion, meaning that the market currently values Ether at around 8 times that of ADA. And if the market can assign a valuation of $200 billion to the whole circulating supply of Ether, then to me this is a very strong indication that Cardano, a crypto project which is technologically superior in many ways, and which is less discovered, can also reach that level of valuation. And this is not even considering the extra growth which I think is likely to occur in adoption and use of Cardano. My point that ADA could multiply in value by a factor of roughly 8 doesn't put ADA ahead of Ether, which I think would be at least a bare minimum to expect in the long term, considering the superior technology of Cardano. Actually, an increase in value of 800% merely puts ADA on the same level of Ether in terms of valuation, and so immediately in terms of opportunity cost, I think that there is a huge potential for growth in the market value of ADA. It's much easier to double, triple, or quadruple a market value of $25 billion than it would be to experience the same level of gain in a crypto like Ether, which is already worth $200 billion. I mean, if ADA were to quadruple in value over the next year, we're talking $100 billion market valuation, which is a lot, but certainly nothing which is unreasonable or out of the ordinary in crypto. But for Ether to quadruple and reward investors with the same 400% gain, we'd need a market capitalization of around $800 billion, and that's much harder to achieve and would likely take a lot longer. And remember that we're not even talking about the growth in the value of ADA which I think will occur, as a product of innovation and growth in adoption. We're merely talking about an 8-to-1 growth in the value of ADA which would level the playing field. And I actually think that ADA is more valuable than Ether, and so over time I think that the value of ADA could well exceed 8-to-1 and by a fairly large margin as well. When we're talking about the price of ADA, I think that it's important to remember the context and size of the crypto market. And actually, even though prices have been rising a lot in certain cryptos as of late, the aggregate market capitalization of the 8 or so thousand crypto projects listed on CoinMarketCap is still just $1.5 trillion, and that's a huge amount of money. But when you consider that the S&P 500, which represents 500 of the largest companies in America, is worth about $33 trillion alone, and this is not considering the value of the thousands of large companies which don't make the top 500, and the 30 million small businesses in the USA, that means that we are likely talking about hundreds of trillions of dollars worth of business value. And this is just in the United States. Crypto is a global market and is receiving investment from all over the world. And so as a global market for a rapidly growing asset class which represents a new and growing technology, namely blockchain, which is disrupting many industries and is constantly being applied in new ways, $1.5 trillion when put into perspective isn't massive. And so in addition to the huge growth that I think will occur as investors and consumers begin to realize that Cardano is just as good, perhaps better than Ethereum, I think that Cardano will be one of the main beneficiaries of the growth in the crypto market as a whole. And you may be thinking that growth in the crypto market as a whole over time isn't really a benefit which is unique to Cardano as much as inclusive of the whole market, but I actually think that the projects with a real use case, proven demand, and adoption are the ones which will flourish disproportionately relative to the countless thousands of smaller crypto projects, many of which are completely worthless. You see, as the market matures, speculators will leave as the volatility calms down, and the attention will, in my opinion, shift towards the projects which genuinely have a real use case and real demand. And you see, that's why I'm betting big on Cardano. There are other factors as well, but I think that Cardano are in an undervalued position relative to Ether, and I think that eventually the markets will correct this previously incorrect valuation. Now, I'm a realist and a common sense investor, and I'm not going to pretend that I know what's going to happen to the market price tomorrow or the day after, but I do believe that ADA will be far more valuable in the future than today, for the reasons previously mentioned. Before we move on to the last point, if you're enjoying the video so far and you appreciate the content, I want to ask you for a favor and to subscribe to the channel, to help us grow and allow me to spend more time researching and producing videos. Anyway, the final point which I wanted to make was that now that you've heard why I'm invested into ADA, and why I plan to continue to hold on, I want to share the side of the story that nobody really shares. People have heard about the gains that I have made, and the gains that other investors have made as well, and a lot of people make the mistake of thinking that you can just buy and sit back waiting to get rich. In my own experience, that hasn't been the case. It hasn't been easy, and it definitely has not been all gains and no losses. And I won't pretend that there haven't been times where the price has been going down and that I've considered selling, or times when the price has been rising and I've had a bad day and I just feel like selling out and taking the gains. But I've managed to resist the impulse to sell, and for me it's worked out fairly well. And I regard the gains which I have experienced in Cardano so far as a reward for being patient and dealing with the rollercoaster volatility. And I think that if I continue to hold and exercise patience, I'll continue to gain in ADA over time. And by the way, in my own experience, it's been far easier to hold on when the market is booming, and much harder when the market is slower or declining. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that there won't be risk along the way, and I'm not saying that gains are guaranteed. As like every other investment, there is a possibility of capital loss, and so every investor needs to make their own decision as to whether they are willing to bear the risk and hold on during the tough times which may come. I for one think that on a risk and reward basis, ADA is a good investment for my portfolio, and I'm going to continue to hold my ADA for the foreseeable future. Now that's my line of thought and my position, and I'd love to hear yours in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, and again, if you're not yet subscribed, be sure to subscribe and help us out.